I was refusing to quit. And I would say to them, when he said, "Why is that cop there?" I'm like, because I don't want your kids to go to foster care. Apparently, they didn't care about that, but it was important to me. Hey, this is Diane Dirks.
And I'm Rick Voiles.
We've been working with co-parents in conflict for more than 2 decades. We've taught classes, written books, counseled parents, empathized, and agonized a few times to help people make sense of their complicated families.
We were talking one day, and it occurred to us that helping the most difficult cases comes down to one simple concept. Is one parent willing to let go of the tug-of-war rope, or is it worth it to hold on and fight?
So we invite you to take this journey with us each episode as we tackle the questions, should you hold on or let it go? Welcome to Co-Parent Dilemmas, where we give you practical solutions to those impossible co-parents. Hello, Rick.
Hello. Oh, your British voice. Yeah. Hello, Diane.
Hello, Rick. How are you today?
I'm good. You've got a daughter-in-law who's British, so you are exposed to this.
And I've been spending some time with her recently.
Yes. So. Cool.
Yeah. So what's new?
What is new? No, it's busy. I had somebody today go, "How was your weekend?" I'm going, wait, what? What's today?
I know.
No.
It was weird that it was Monday. Yesterday, I thought it was Saturday.
Yeah, it just runs together.
The only way I knew it was Sunday is Chick-fil-A wasn't open.
Don't you hate that?
But I love them for that.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, 6 days out of 7, and they still make a gazillion dollars.
Why is it that my strongest urge to get Chick-fil-A is on a Sunday?
Because it's after church, and you're like,
exactly.
I'm really hungry.
Yeah, I could use Chick-fil-A right now. No, they're not open.
I know. So I want to welcome our YouTube viewers. This is exciting that we're on YouTube now.
All of them.
And if you are not watching us on YouTube and you want to, we'll put a link in the show notes. And you can be disappointed and see what we really look like.
Yeah, we've had that experience before, right? Yeah.
No, you're not at all what we thought.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It would sound better with a British accent.
Exactly. So we have a really cool good news story today. This is about a dog. Sorry, but everybody knows I love dogs. Of course. So I love these good news stories about dogs. But this happened in Great Britain. It said an adorable dog was adopted by a kind-hearted pub manager after the pooch's owner died in a car crash. The 2-year-old Shih Tzu named Rex dashed into the busy bar after surviving a tragic car accident. Regulars at and I love the name, the Leaping Wolf in Wolverhampton, England, were left startled when the lost pooch ran into the pub during a football match. Manager Dan Morris caught the runaway pup and took him to the veterinarian to see if he was okay and inquire about where he could have come from. But Dan was shocked to learn that Rex's owner had passed away in that car crash. That's how the frisky pup came to be a new regular at the pub and a real hit with the locals. It was last year's Liverpool versus Wolves match. Wolves keep coming up in this story. It was crammed inside and outside the bar, said the 33-year-old barkeep. Everyone said there was a dog running around and we had no idea where he came from. He has been great. All the customers love him and they even buy him presents. He loves attention. He loves treats. He loves attention. He loves treats. He's so spoiled. If we have takeaway, he has takeaway. If we have roast dinner, he has roast dinner. He also now acts like a bouncer for the Leaping Wolf with his uncanny ability to sniff out troublemakers.
Whoa.
He's been known to bark at visitors who tend to be the ones that end up causing trouble in the pub. He sits and waits for people to come in and inspects them, and we don't know how he knows which guests are up to no good, but he's usually right.
Wow.
I love that story. And there's a really cute picture. So again, I'll put this in the show notes and you can check out Rex from the Leaping Wolf pub.
Cool.
I'm so excited about this episode. Are you, Rick? Oh my gosh.
I'll let you know when we're done.
Because I don't really feel like we have to solve any problems in this one.
That's true. That is true. No problem.
In some ways, this is going to be a therapy session for me and you.
Ooh. So the audience gets to be the therapists?
Yes.
Oh,
maybe.
So we're not asking for them to give us advice.
There needs to be a warning I want to say trigger warning, but I'm thinking you and I might be the ones
yeah,
experiencing the
right,
triggers, right?
Right. If one of us breaks down in tears, you'll
Or
know.
gets angry and gets up and leaves.
Ooh,
I don't think we'll do that.
I don't think so. Oh.
But anyway, do you want to read?
I'll
email?
read it.
It's the second
Sure.
one. Yeah.
Hey, guys.
Girls and guys. Okay.
Hey, y'all. I've been listening to your podcast for a while now, and I sometimes think my situation is a lot worse than those you talk about. I am wondering, what are some of your worst case scenarios have been? I'm wondering what some of your worst case scenarios have been, just so I know I'm not the worst. Thanks for all you do. Devin. Is Devin from England too? I mean, so far we've got an British theme here.
Was that a British theme? He wants to.
No, the dog was in London.
And
you had a British accent.
Devin sounds British.
Yeah, it does sound kind of British.
Regardless, what do you think about that request?
Our worst scenarios? Yeah.
Why do you think Devin wants to know that?
I would guess that Devin wants to know that his life isn't as bad as he thinks it is.
We don't know that Devin is a he either.
We don't know.
I know some girl Devins.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I know a girl Devin.
Oh, then it's definitely
I know two
England.
of them, but they're spelled a little different. But yeah.
Oh, okay.
But you want to, for the sake of conversation, we'll say Devin is a he.
Okay.
Or are they? I don't know. I don't care. Let's just do the show.
Let's get to the worst.
Okay.
All right. Gotcha.
So I was tickled to read this because, we don't get to talk about some of our entertaining. And, I do need to say there are some entertaining stories, but there are kids involved.
True.
So when you think about the children, they're very sad in some ways.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I think you and I have both experienced in our work, there might be a really crazy story, but most of the time it's because one parent is acting out really, really bad.
Yes.
And the hope is that we're able to work with the other parent.
Yes.
To do the right things by the children.
That's always the hope. If we can get through to the other parent that, look, we're counting on you for the sake of the child.
Right.
Because this other parent is never going to be able to do it.
Right. So from that perspective, these aren't hopeless stories.
No.
But they are stories. And we didn't have to write them down, did we, Rick?
No.
Why not, Rick?
Because, well, you mentioned triggers. It's somewhat traumatizing. Yeah, it is. It is hard work.
It really is.
What we do. And so the professionals out there, we're kind of making a little bit light of it, but no, to experience this kind of stuff all the time and to have to deal with it and hopefully not take it home with you.
A handful, thank God, only a handful of cases that I think stay in your head and make you shudder a little bit when you think about them.
Ooh, it's kind of like Devin. Whenever I think I've got a really bad case right here, I think of the bad one.
Oh, it's not that bad.
Not that bad.
I think Devin is saying this tongue in cheek, but also really is worried that he has the worst case.
That would not be unusual. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people
is for him his worst case.
In fact, our Hump Day Wednesday groups that we have on Wednesdays, our Hump Day help groups, a lot of people say that's why they come, because it makes them realize they're not alone.
Right.
And that some people's scenarios are worse than theirs, or they're dealing with a fresh scenario that the other person has already resolved.
Yeah,
so they're like, oh yeah, I remember being there, but this won't last forever, which I think is really helpful to the person who's thinking, oh my gosh, will I ever get out of this? Will this be my life from now on? And someone else can say, well, it feels that way, but it won't always feel that way, which is good. So I think Devin just wants some encouragement that what you're going through right now isn't the worst thing that's going to happen to you.
Or as much as encouraging as that can be. Yeah.
It's kind of like in mediation, the Watna and the Batna,
Yeah.
What is the worst alternative to
what you're dealing with right now, and what's the best?
And what's the best alternative to what you're dealing with right now, and see if you can come to some sort of resolution about it. So gee, who wants to go first?
You can go first.
Okay. So the one that I'm thinking of, and I'm not going to use names or places or any of that.
No.
And this was many, many years ago, but I had a couple in parenting coordination who the judge had put in the order that if this didn't work, this was their last resort, me, which no one wants to feel that. That's a lot of pressure. Okay, she is your last resort. If I see you back in my courtroom again, his threat was not to jail the parents. His threat was he was going to remand the children to state custody.
Wow. That tells you
He
something
was going
about how
to
bad.
put the children in foster care. So
Holy
I'm thinking,
cow.
I better do good,
One
right? I
more
better do
chance.
this well. And so, but you know what my thinking was, naive as I was, and I was experienced, but it felt like, well, these people ought to be toeing the line.
You would think they would be motivated.
This is going to be an easy case.
Right.
They know what their court order says. They're going to come in and say, well, oh my gosh, what can we do to make sure that our kids don't end up in foster care? What do you think happened, Rick?
They didn't believe the judge? What?
Very first session, I mean, I even said to them, now I've read your court order and it says, so we really need to do the work, right? Because we don't want, and right out of the gate, they were fighting back and forth and screaming and getting out of hand. And I was like, wow, what is happening? So after I worked with them a couple of times, I began to realize that the dad was really, really aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of identified him as the one who really wanted me to quit. He didn't want this to work. He was trying to intimidate me, because then if I quit, then it didn't mean they weren't doing a good job.
Oh.
I would quit. Well, what do you think I did with that, knowing who I am, Rick? Because I am a stubborn.
Oh, you doubled down.
I am a stubborn fool.
Well, I don't know about. Can I agree without agreeing?
Well, I'm very competitive, so give me
There
a
you go.
challenge,
Exactly.
and I am going to meet the challenge.
Right.
So I took that as a challenge, to the point where in one of the first few sessions, he got very angry and aggressive and showed his anger in the room. Well, kind of both to me and the co-parent, to where I had to end the session and said, okay, we're ending this for now because he was too angry, and set another appointment. And I talked to the guardian ad litem after that, and she was like, listen, if you can't do this case, I completely understand. I'm like, no. They're coming back, but for my safety and the mom's safety, I hired a police officer to stand outside of my door and paid him $50 to stand there for an hour. And when the guy walked in, he saw the guy standing there and fully in uniform.
Wow.
And he said, what's that guy doing there? And I'm like, well, he's there to make sure that everybody behaves in this session.
Gee.
And we did that for several sessions after that.
It worked?
Eventually, they did go back to court, and I don't know what happened to their kids.
Oh, dear.
But to me, that was, one of my worst case
I
scenarios.
would not have thought of Rent-A-Cop as a tool in a PC's toolkit. that's
I only ever did it once.
That's good.
But he was not going to win.
No.
I was going to win that battle. I was refusing to quit. And I would say to them, when he said, why is that cop there? I'm like, because I don't want your kids to go to foster care. Apparently, they didn't care about that, but it was important to me. But they needed their parents more than they needed to be in foster care. But maybe the judge looked at it realistically and said maybe they'd be better
That's
in
insane.
foster care.
That is insane.
It's very insane.
Wow.
So, Tag, you're it. Hey, listeners, the response to the daily devotional for frustrated co-parents has been a pleasant surprise. The feedback I'm getting is that it helps to put co-parent issues in a biblical context and provides an additional and more peaceful challenge to do right by the children. If you've not yet subscribed, you can do so by following the link in the show notes. An option for a 7-day free trial is available, so you can test it out and see if this new start to your day gives you a little more peace about being a non-impossible.
We'll be back after a quick break.
What's up, everyone? Steve here with the Balance of Gray podcast. It's a brand new podcast.
That's good news.
Funny news stories, serious topics, and spiritual growth.
Phenomenon is what it is.
I can promise this won't be quite like anything you've heard before in a Christian podcast. The Balance of Gray brings raw discussions that get to the root of some of the hardest questions. In every few episodes, we feature inspiring testimonies from those who have walked the walk. There's already a good lineup of episodes for you to dive into, so go check them out and tune in on Wednesdays for a great time and a bold twist on igniting your faith. You can find the Balance of Gray podcast on nearly every listening platform out there. Start listening now.
Pretty good, huh?
Oh, gee. The ones that pop into my mind instantly when we talk about these worst cases. I had a case where the guy was, I swear, his family was, I won't say that. That makes it sound like he's part of a cartel, but I just did say that. Anyways, he was so threatening. After the sessions, the mom would go out and then she would come back. He did this twice. My tires were slashed.
Your tires?
No, not mine.
Oh,
hers.
her tires.
She would come back, and I'm sitting here going, "Why is she coming back? What? We're done. She's gone." And she's telling me, "Can you call somebody for me? My tires are slashed."
So he left before her.
He left her.
Was she in the office with you
yes.
after?
Yeah.
Did you let him leave first because you were worried about her safety?
Yep.
And he went out and slashed her tires?
Slashed her tires.
But there was no camera?
No,
Was there a camera?
No, because we got security involved, no cameras, no. And I actually stayed while the guy came and fixed her tires, but not fixed them, replaced them.
Professionals out there, make sure you have a camera in your parking lot.
In the parking lot. Holy cow.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how many more sessions did you have after that?
I must have. Well, I think I had.
You continued?
Yes, I did. You may be stubborn. Maybe I'm just naive and stupid.
Yeah.
But they went separate. I let them leave separately. Okay. And then I think the next time I actually escorted her out. It's kind of hard. You don't want to look like you're siding with one or the other, but also you don't want your client injured.
Right.
Yeah.
I have another story, but there's a pattern here. These are all dads. And I know I'm trying to think.
Wow.
Anyway, I'm going to tell the dad story, but I know you have some mom stories because we don't want to be biased and send the message that all the dads are the worst. Do we, Rick?
No, I don't want that, but.
So I have one. So the mom has the child who I think at the time was maybe 8 or 9 years old. And she was my client. And she would show me some of his emails and texts to her. So I kind of was getting a flavor of dad's control issues.
Mm-hmm.
He was very, very controlling. Like he would tell her, she would pick up the kids at school and he happened to work at the school. So he would tell her, if you don't park in this particular parking spot, you can't have the children today. I mean, just weird stuff like that, right? So she sends me a text and she said, I'm in the hospital in the emergency room with my son. They're thinking he might have appendicitis. So she said she sent me the message that she sent to the dad, which was appropriate. Hey, our son is, in the emergency room. We're waiting on them to do some tests. He's having a lot of severe abdominal pain, worried about appendicitis. I'll keep you updated, which is what she should have done. Right?
Exactly. As soon as possible.
It happened to be exchange day.
Okay.
And he was supposed to pick up the children at 4. And you know what his response was?
Mm-mm.
Well, they better be at pickup at 4.
In appendicitis, maybe surgery. And
Right.
he's worried
Not,
about.
oh my gosh, where are you? I'm going to come be with my
Yeah,
child.
right. Is my child okay?
Or is my child okay? Or what is the doctor saying? It was, they better be there at 4.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There are parents out there like that. Gee.
And I was dumbfounded.
Yep.
I didn't know what to say other than don't respond to that. Because by this time it's like noon, right? It's in the middle of the day. She might be done at 4 if they say he just has gas or something, but if
false alarm.
it's appendicitis, what do we do? Well, sorry, we'll have to take you to dad's and then dad will have to, because I really believe, in having gotten to know the dad through his messages, that he either didn't believe it was true or he really believed he was the better parent to deal with this issue. And so you better be there at 4 and then be the one.
Oh, you're being way too nice.
That's crazy.
That is insane. No.
Yeah, but that happens.
Yep.
Okay.
I had one client I was afraid would bring a gun to the session.
Why? What made you think that?
Just how aggressive he was and threatening, without being threatening, and just so aloof, so detached from anything really going on. I was going to say reality, but anything really going on in this room, and controlling of mom. In fact, when I brought an end to this, mother was almost devastated. It was like, there's no buffer now,
right, between
me and him. And, I was kind of counting on you but this guy it wasn't anything that was ever going to happen to agree with. But you know how you walk them into a room and kind of tell them where you want them to sit, right? So I would always put her on that side. And of course, I'm closest to the door was what I was trying to do. And I would put him first, and then I would walk behind him, around him while he's sitting down, kind of looking for bulges. And at that point, I started thinking, well, maybe I should get some help with this. Maybe I don't need to be handling this by myself. Maybe I should get some advice.
So your spidey sense went up about this person. You just felt like
if I felt
not okay.
he could do it. I felt like if it was going to happen, it was.
So what did you do after that in future sessions?
We ended pretty quickly after that. I think we maybe had one more where I was trying to give closure and end it. In fact, I met mom later, and she was asking for some advice on, the kind of PC advice we give. How do I deal with this person? And I actually had an appointment with her later she was struggling.
Oh, I just thought of a girl one. A mother one. Okay. Yay.
We are equal opportunity disaster.
Exactly. So this was a mom who was very fastidious. Do you know what I mean? Like everything had to be just so right with her children. They had to wear just the right clothing and present themselves just the right way, kind of a mommy dearest kind of person, right? And so another medical story. So this one, I can't remember what the medical issue was, but the child was with dad, and dad, texts the mom, and I know what it was. So there was some medical issue where the child was going to need to see a heart specialist because they had detected a murmur or something like that, and we need to go see this heart specialist. Well, she calls the child cardiologist, who doesn't have evening hours, which would make sense, right? So he had to be seen during school hours, the child.
Okay. All right.
So, of course, mom makes an appointment for next week at, 11:30. That was what they had. They didn't have multiple appointments on multiple days next week. And she's going to take the first available because it's a heart issue and I want my child to be okay.
Yeah.
So she sends dad an email, he sends mom an email saying, our child's going to be in this cardiologist appointment at 11:30 next week. If you want to come, we'll be there. And she wrote back and said, that can't happen. And he said, well, why not? And she said, because it would mess up his perfect attendance record at school.
As a cardiologist, does she know what a cardiologist is?
It would mess up the perfect attendance at school.
And of course, if he dies, that would really screw things up, right? Wow.
And this was a drop in the bucket with this mom.
Really?
I mean, honestly, I felt like these kids it's one of those things that you can't prove abuse.
Right.
But they were being mentally,
maybe.
Yeah, emotionally manipulated, and just her expectations were over the top. And these kids were going to have anxiety because of that. But kind of like the other guy who said, well, they better be there at 4. She's like, you better not take them out of school because I'm counting on that. I don't know. What did they get, Rick? What do you get for perfect attendance? I think he
A
was
certificate.
I think he was in middle school or something,
They don't even give trophies.
Suitable for framing?
Yeah, well, I'm sure if it's flat enough. Sure. Yeah. Mom may have a whole wall full of certificates.
It's going to sound horrible, but I remember in high school, there was a girl in my high school. I think we were seniors in high school, and they gave her some weird trophy because she had, since kindergarten, had never missed a day of school. And we all thought she was the weirdest kid ever. So perfect attendance isn't really all it's cracked up to be.
No.
Right.
So you never put it on your resume for
She might have, but I never did. I skipped school a couple of times. So, what are you going to say?
You're a rowdy kid.
But I think that illuminates the mental state of some of people like to say, when I say people, even therapists, even judges will say, you guys need to just stop this. You need to get along. Right? Remember we did that episode with the judge who just said, you guys stop it. Just stop it.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't want to hear about this anymore. When you're dealing with a parent like that, how do you, as the co-parent, how do you stop it? Because that's a mental issue. It really is.
Right.
It's a mental emotional disorder, probably. Right. And that's your life as a co-parent. Your life is dealing with a person who cares more about perfect attendance and you better be there for
the child's heart. Yeah.
Yeah.
You had one that at the end of the court session, they put the kids on a plane with dad.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was a reunification case.
Yeah. It was like, right now, go. Bam. And he left the state.
Yes. And they did amazingly well. But it was, I'm not going to talk about the details of that. But the mom was telling the kids really horrible, egregious things about dad. Criminal crimes that she had made up that he had committed. And it was really, really sad.
Yeah.
And when the judge read my report, the judge said, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this, but I feel like I must. And
right then and there.
Right then and there, the kids were turned over to dad and they got on a plane and went out west.
Man.
And luckily, though, mom was assigned to a therapist who she could only talk to the kids with the therapist present. And there was a therapist for the kids. And it was a really crazy case. But yeah.
I think we've all dealt with a narcissist that was a gaslighting narcissist. This was a really, really difficult case for mom. You know how we always hear, oh, I can't be in the same room with the other person because, it's traumatizing. This really was in the case where in several instances I could see her kind of disassociate.
Oh,
I mean, she would just kind of
check out.
But what gave it even more credence was he was doing the stuff to me, the gaslighting, and I was
you were getting triggered by him as well.
I'm a smart aleck enough to where
really,
surprise, but. He would play these tricks on me. And so, for example, one time we were ending the session and I was making some kind of summary or recommendation and he was accusing me of all this stuff. And
you're going, did I do that? Wow, maybe I did.
And I'm going, well, I'm responding back in a very professional, rational way. And he goes, Rick, You know what you've done. And he stood up and, we were ending all the way out to the
that's creepy.
Right. It standing at the door, almost like, almost toe to toe. And he just kept, it was like, let me throw gas on this gaslighting thing.
Right.
Let me see if I can break you down.
Yeah.
And I really felt bad.
But that's where it's really informative. Part of parenting coordination is learning how it feels to be that other parent.
Exactly.
Because they will do to you the same thing they do to the other parent.
They're professional. I mean, they're experts at it.
And then you can sort of join with the other parent without looking biased to say, okay, I kind of get this now.
Well, and it did give me some clues as to when because, there's a time where you want them talking to each other, right? And try and work things out. But I could easily see, okay, I got to step in. I got to stop this. I got to redirect back to me just to protect her.
Yeah. So the good news is, I think for our listeners, is when you have professionals who are trained, they do see those things.
Yeah.
But they might not always call them out the way you want them to, or call them out in a joint meeting.
Correct.
Because we know that calling out someone like that doesn't work.
No.
That's what the client wants, right? Why aren't they calling them out and claiming this is an injustice to my kids and myself? And that doesn't work, right? So, but we do get it and see it. And then I suspect, because I know you and I know your work, that you did some extra work with the other parent, with the mom.
Absolutely.
To say, okay, how are you going to live with this?
Yep.
Because this is
skills.
who he is and will always be. And this is how you need to frame this for yourself and your children.
Yeah.
And that's the best you can do, because we can't change that.
So person. I don't know Devin. I mean, I don't know if let's assume he's not any of the people we described.
Right. He doesn't sound like it.
No, but is he describing what he thinks might be as bad as what we've described? Hopefully we've given a perspective that, Devin, you're probably not dealing with. I mean, Devin, if we're struggling, then I doubt you're having that level of response. If you are, my gosh, please get some help from a professional.
Or write us part of your story.
Ooh.
And we'll tell you it's not the worst that we heard.
Right.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is.
Oh, wow. Now we don't want a contest. Who's got the worst?
No.
We don't want that.
But regardless, Devin, if your story still feels worse than a few of the things that we said, it doesn't matter how bad the story is. What matters is what you bring to the table.
Correct.
Right?
And the worse it is, the more you need to bring.
And we've had, we could talk about this all day. We've had stories where we really thought the court was going to do the right thing, only to find the court doing the wrong thing.
Right.
And those are almost worse stories for me, because it feels like they trusted the court. They put their money out there, their time, their effort. I'm trusting you with my children. And then the court didn't get it.
Right.
And then it was like really, really frustrating. And to me, those are worst case scenarios than some of the anecdotal stuff that we have about crazy co-parents.
Yeah, because we're talking about the impact it had on us.
Right.
I mean, what's far worse is the impact it's had on the kids. Or
they seek out professionals who don't know what they're doing and then
make it worse,
add to the conflict. So that might be part of what Devin is dealing with. So feel free to email us more, Devin. Tell us more of the story, and then maybe we can talk about that on the show.
Yep.
All right, great.
All right, well, bye-bye, everybody.
We'll talk to you next week. Bye. Hey, listeners, thanks for listening and tuning in to our podcast. If you're on YouTube, we hope that you'll subscribe to us and like our show. If you've listened audio, we want you to give us a 5-star review. And the reason to do that is so that we can be more available to other listeners. When you give us a positive review, more people can get help. So we'll see you next time. The information contained in this podcast is generic. It must not be misconstrued as constituting legal or psychological advice. Decisions relevant to any specific individual, family system, or case require the direct evaluation of skilled, child-centered professionals.